Questions today after news Nordstrom is closing all of its Canadian stores, putting 2,500 people out of work.
It cost a lot of money just to break even on these stores. And I just think if you look at the Canadian demographic, we just probably didn't have enough business there that could sustain these type of stores.
The high-end U.S. retailer has 6 main stores and 7 Nordstrom Rack locations across the country. The company says it has been losing money in Canada and doesn't see a path to profitability. All stores are expected to close for good by late June. Joining me now to discuss this matter a little more is employment lawyer Lluc Cerda. Lluc, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Heather. Thanks for having me.
So what does this mean for Nordstrom employees?
Well, it means that they're a little bit out of luck. So the CCAA proceedings that Nordstrom has started essentially mean that these employees who would otherwise be entitled to severance now have to make a claim with the trustee, which is a form of bankruptcy trustee. And essentially they become unsecured creditors of Nordstrom, just like, invoice, suppliers or anything like that. So they will only be paid their severance once the secured creditors, namely the banks, get paid, if there's any money left over. And in all likelihood, there won't be any, or at least not much money left over to pay their severances. So they might be left with basically nothing but the ability to go on EI after their termination.
Well, I was just going to ask you about the likelihood of them really even getting anything, and even the beginning of that process seems a little complex or convoluted rather than just a company paying them a severance when they're laid off.
It can get quite complex. They have to fill out a form or make a claim with the trustee. The trustee then evaluates the claim, decides how much of the claim they want to allow, and then pays cents on the dollar on the allowed amount of the claim. It is a lot more convoluted than simply receiving, a termination package when you're let go.
And what is the likelihood? How often in these cases, we've seen big retailers close up in Canada before, how often do people really get any severance?
Well, it's not often. The best hope that employees have is that someone swoops in and purchases the Nordstrom assets and brands and restructures, and hopefully there's some money left that comes out of that allows for the employees to receive their severance. But it's not a great prospect. I don't think Nordstrom has any plans to stay in Canada. They're really wrapping this up and leaving. So it's not a great prospect for employees. And we've seen this happen, as you said, multiple times before. 2016, we had Sears. Just recently, we had Bed Bath & Beyond. Toys R Us, we had the same issue. And these employees, after years and years of service, are left with really nothing to show for it. And we've actually, in the wake of the Sears bankruptcy, wrote to all MPs to make sure that employees who are terminated, that their severance package, that their severance entitlements rather, be secured, just the way bank mortgages are secured, so that there's more money to take care of these hardworking people who are now left with basically nothing. So far, we haven't heard anything on that proposal from the government, but it's definitely something that should be revisited in this era.
Can you talk to us just briefly a little bit more about that? What really needs to be done to offer employees a little more protection who are perhaps working in the retail landscape?
Well, the reality of all bankruptcies is that there's 2 types of creditors. There's going to be secured creditors who have a security against, mortgages, against, assets or anything like that, and they always get paid first. And the reality is once the secured creditors are paid, there's really nothing left for the unsecured creditors. Severance entitlements are unsecured debt. So there's really just nothing left for the unsecured creditors, for the little suppliers, the cleaning crews, and all of those people who really operate and make the store run. There's nothing left for them to pay them what they're owed. So moving the severance entitlements to a secured status would allow for more of that money to be paid out.
And for now, it seems like a very unfortunate time for these 2,500 Nordstrom employees. Lluc, thank you so much for your time this afternoon and for breaking this down for us. Lluc Cerda, an employment lawyer, joining us here on CTV News Channel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just ahead, a SpaceX Dragon capsule carrying a 4-person crew has arrived safely at the International Space